Welcome to the Daughter Arise channel. My name is Yvonne, and this channel is all about bringing you content and news about childhood sexual abuse. I am a survivor of childhood sexual abuse, and on this channel, I share things to do with my experience and my journey of overcoming childhood sexual abuse. And also, I share news stories and add my commentary and thoughts to them. And from time to time, I interview other survivors and their supporters in hopes of raising awareness about this childhood trauma. So, if this is the type of content that you're looking for, please hit the subscribe button and the notification bell so that you can be notified of any new videos. And if you like the content, please hit the thumbs up. So in today's story, I want to share with you about a daughter that was left disgusted as a police officer reads out her paedophile father's statement, blaming her for 15 years of sexual abuse he inflicted upon her. Now, the lady is named Emily, and she recently did a documentary called A Paedophile in My Family, Surviving Dad. And I am going to be doing a review of this documentary. I have to admit, it is going to be a little bit hard. Not that it's going to be triggering, but obviously it's quite difficult when you've gone through the experience of childhood sexual abuse to sometimes watch others who have gone through it, talk about their experience. But I am going to do a review of this video, so please do look out for any uploads. But in this article, which is in the Daily Mail newspaper, and I will leave a link to it in the description box, which you can check out for yourself, she talks about her reaction, or the story is talking about her reaction to this news about her father blaming her for her abuse, which he inflicted upon her. So the story says a woman whose father sexually abused her from the age of 2 said she was disgusted to hear his sickening defense of his actions in his statement to the police, as he tried to blame her for seducing him. Emily Victoria from Dorset visits the officers who investigated her father's abuse of her in a scene in her documentary, A Paedophile in My Family, Surviving Dad, which aired on Channel 4. The businesswoman and mother of one sits down with Tony O'Connell and Helen Deacon as Tony reads out the transcript of her father's explanation during his interview, his police interview in 2009, after Emily reported him to the police. As the statement labels Emily a sexual kid and shirks all the blame, the 31-year-old speaks of seeing her father, who has been released from jail after serving 14 years, in a different light. Meanwhile, Emily's father, who quit his job to become a foster carer when his daughter was 8, had been trying to groom police and convince them of his own warped view. In the documentary, Emily explains how her father's abuse began when she was a toddler, but was invisible to everyone around her, including her mother. She explains how on the outside she, her 2 brothers, her father and mother looked like a normal family, with her dad being popular with others. However, she says, what people didn't see, not even my family, was that I was being sexually abused by my dad for the first 18 years of my life. As Tony reads out Emily's father's statement, he said, I was happily married at the start, never watched kiddie porn, don't know why it happened. Emily was a very sexual kid, some kids are. Don't know if that switched me on, can't remember exactly how it started. Emily would do stuff to herself, I caught her one day. He paused, interjecting, so that was the start of his narrative. He's not a sex offender or into kiddie porn, it's about you and what you did to him. So that is Tony there speaking, the police officer, interjecting to add, his commentary on what he just read. Emily said, it's so interesting because the earliest memories I have as a toddler of him like poking me and everything. Why did he think a child behaves a certain way? It's because you're teaching them. Tony continued through the notes, explaining how Emily's father had recalled the abuse. He was talking about Emily, sat on the bed, straddled me, started moving on me. Didn't stop her immediately, could feel she was quite turned on, I guess. Tony explained Emily's father had been trying to groom the police and convince them of his own warped world view. The notes continued, I feel guilty, usual stuff, feelings come up again, sexually aroused, guilty, it just progressed. He said, we had a brilliant father and daughter relationship, and that I didn't do anything she didn't want. It was very gentle, wrong, but a very loving relationship. I didn't have to force her or tell her not to tell. A clearly stunned Emily asked officers if she felt that her father felt bad for what he had done, with Tony responding there was no part of him that felt bad over what had happened. Emily explained, I feel a bit sick. His narrative that he put out there was that he was trying to put it on me the whole time. Everything was my fault, even outside of that nonsense. He would say, no one likes your school and these are the reasons why. He was always trying to shift the blame on me. I'm not shocked that he has done that. It brings up all those feelings when I was a child and blames myself for everything, which I don't do anymore. I'm trying to make sure that doesn't make me go backwards. I'm having an inner battle with myself. The police officer Tony assured her that they never believed what her father had told them, saying, when you were talking, it was like I wanted to cry. I can't believe this has happened to you. The police officer says when he was sitting there talking about whilst they were in the interview, he said outwardly he was saying thank you for talking to us, but inwardly he was saying you are a cowardly F word. How could you do this? Emily said hearing the notes from the police interview gave her a new perspective on the abuse. I feel sick to my stomach in a way I haven't felt before. I look at him in a different way, like he's something disgusting. I always felt like he pled guilty not because of evidence, but because he felt bad for what he'd done. But my dad's words in this statement make it very clear that he didn't care about me at all. I actually want to know and look him in the eye to see if he's changed at all. Emily's father was sentenced to 14 years, but was recently released. So there's a little bit more to that story. It's quite a long story because it obviously covers a lot from the documentary, but I just wanted to share that with you. And I want to tell you that paedophiles will always blame the victim. I can say this from my own experience of going through childhood sexual abuse that was done to me by my birth father for 5 years. I can say this because I've been supporting female and male survivors for the best part of 12 years, which is a very long time through my organisation, Daughter Arise. I can say this, that paedophiles are never sorry for what they've done because of all the different people that I've known in my life, from friends, family, colleagues, different people who have confided in me about their own sexual abuse, that paedophiles will always blame the victim. Paedophiles are never sorry, they're only sorry that they have got caught. Reading Emily's story has made me feel quite sick to the stomach. Emily's father is a degenerate, he is a paedophile, and he will never change. Paedophiles never change and they always blame the victim. You know, the fact that he could say this about his daughter who was a child, and I've said on this channel time and time again that no matter the actions of a child, not that she did anything wrong, because obviously in his sick mind, his child coming and sitting on his lap was something sexual, you know, even if the child just sat on his lap, you know, a child could never be responsible for the actions of an adult. He is a sick and degenerate individual. The fact that it said that he gave up his job when she was 8 years old to become a foster carer. If I was the police, if they haven't already started to look into that, you know, to be looking into the children that he had in his care. Hopefully he never had any children in his care long enough. But paedophiles, by their very nature, cannot keep their hands to themselves. They abuse a lot of children, and you know, they don't just stop their behavior. That is not in their nature to do that. They're quite sick. To be honest with you, it's probably only the Lord God that can change them. You know, if they want to be changed, they are absolutely, you know, repulsive. You know, the inner battle that she talks about with herself, you know, it's kind of like this. And if you're a survivor, you may be able to recognize this, kind of like this thing inside you where you try and stop yourself from destroying yourself, from sabotaging yourself, because of all the kind of feelings of guilt and shame and blame that you battle with after being sexually abused by someone who was supposed to love you. It is a horrible feeling to have, and I hope and pray that she can, you know, or has tapped in at this point to whether, you know, a person around her that can support her in this time, or get access back to therapy, because you know, these type of things, hearing it and seeing it in this light what her father has said, maybe she hadn't thought about it in this way before, can have possibly or will possibly send her on a backward spiral. And as she said, she has worked really hard to get her life to where it is today. Now, a bit further on in the story, she talks about, she wants to look him in the eye to see whether he's changed at all. And, unfortunately, you know, even looking in his eye, won't change a thing, because he's not sorry for what he did to her. He's not sorry for the pain he caused his daughter. He's only sorry he got caught. And it's a real shame. And I'm, a bit apprehensive about watching this documentary, but I'm going to do it because, it's a very brave thing that she has done to be able to, share so openly, something very terrible that happened to her of her childhood sexual abuse. So the very least I can do as somebody who is a supporter of survivors of childhood sexual abuse is to watch her documentary and share it with you. It probably might be difficult or upsetting in places, but this is the very nature of childhood sexual abuse. This is why we need to have this conversation about it and keep it open. Yes, it's difficult, it's disgusting. The people that do it are disgusting, but we need to talk about it. We need to be open about it, because whilst there are adult survivors, like myself and maybe you listening, who have tried to overcome some of the battles and heal on our journey from going through childhood sexual abuse, there are children right now in families, in kids' homes, in orphanages, all over the world, who are going through sexual abuse daily. So, as uncomfortable as it may be, we need to keep open and raise awareness of this childhood sexual abuse trauma. So, as I said, I will leave a link to the story in the description box below, and I will see you on the next video. Take care.